And welcome to Habs Unfiltered, episode 162. I'm your host, Blaine Pudvang. I'm joined now by my co-hosts, Treg Wilson.
Good afternoon.
And Matt Smith.
Afternoon.
So here we are recording on Thursday, the 17th of June. The Canadiens have tied up the series at 1, forcing an improbable Game 3. Meanwhile, Matt is playing Drink the Beer, which is a game that everybody wins.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Unless you're drinking someone else's beer, then the guy whose beer you're drinking doesn't win.
Well, it's that's not the game Drink the Beer. That's the game drink a beer as fast as you can before someone punches you. Different game.
Well, that's what I always play. It's cheaper.
Yeah, it tends to be cheaper until you get that cigarette butt in the beer.
Yeah.
Or the fist in the face.
Yeah. Who doesn't like to punch this face?
Well, see, in that game, the important thing is to do it with someone else in a competition, and you don't need to be the fastest. You just need to be faster than that guy.
Yeah, you grab somebody's dip can and then you're really fucked.
Just don't have the can in your hand and the other guy comes around.
That is 1 minute and 24 seconds into the show, and Matt drops the F-bomb. All right. So for this episode, clearly we're going to talk about Game 2. We're going to talk about the Canadiens' win, a little bit about their systems, everything to do with that. But we're going to go with a little bit of around the league talk, and by that I mean all Montreal. But to kick it off, I want to send a shout out to Beth from Happy Hour and her mom who went to the game in Vegas. You guys are the lucky charms now, so you have to get a private jet, fly to Montreal, and go to games 3 and 4.
Yep.
Facts.
Yeah, no choice. Figure it out. All right. So we'll kick this off with Pierre LeBrun's tweet. So for those who are unaware, Pierre LeBrun this morning at about 2:00, Pierre LeBrun tweeted that, and I'm quoting, "Perhaps that's a win tonight for the entire North Division. Might help quiet a rather tiresome narrative. The Habs belong in the Stanley Cup semifinals just as much as the other 3 teams." So he's clearly talking about all 4 North Division playoff teams. And he's right.
Yeah. I mean, Matt's going to let me go first, so I'll go first before I forget my statement. The funny thing about this whole North Division being weak is all of a sudden it comes from a team's fan base that all year was saying how the North Division was not weak. I won't name that fan base, but it sounds similar to Toronto.
The Sable Reefs.
Seriously, like all season long, you see the arguments on Twitter. Toronto saying it's not a weak division, because people were saying, "Oh, Toronto's just running away because they're the best of the worst," and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
And now they flip flop that whole narrative, I guess we'll say, and now it's it was a weak division anyway, and the Canadiens are only there because they got lucky against us and wiped the floor.
It's such a weak division. Why didn't they win?
Exactly. You know what I mean? Why didn't they win? They only would have win one more game. That's it. Just one.
Oh no, it's Tavares' fault. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, we've beaten this dead horse and those dead fans to death. So let's carry on. Leaf Lindsay's going to have a hemorrhage if she listens to the show. So
no, it's a guarantee she's blocked everything to do with the Habs.
Maybe, I don't know. I've never interacted with her, so I just see what other people put on Twitter.
I spoke to her once, and suddenly I was blocked because I think, and this may be my fault, I tweeted something that had "Go Habs Go" in it.
Son of a bitch.
My apologies.
But and another narrative that brings up to me, and Matt, you can I'm going to kind of pose this to you is
sure.
A lot of people say if it wasn't for the way the divisions were, Montreal never would have the playoffs. And the way I look at it is, well, we don't know that because I mean, if it was a regular NHL. Montreal has to play Buffalo. They have to play Detroit. They have to play Anaheim. They have to play San Jose. They have to play what were some of the other weaker teams? LA. They have to play. Chicago wasn't that weak, but you know what I mean. They got all these teams that they still got to play. Yeah. And mind you, Detroit they'll probably lose every game, but Yeah, they're going to have harder teams to play, but Montreal always tends to play better against the teams that are supposedly better than them.
That's right.
And whatever. So, I mean, I don't know if you agree with me or not, Matt, but so
I do agree because and even look at the other teams that are within this division. I don't think Toronto would have done as well as what they did if they had to match up against, Boston quite a few times.
Or they could have done even better.
Tampa or Florida. It's very well, 100%.
Like you can't say that. Like it's like me. I always said, well, McDavid would never have had 100 points or on pace for 160 points if he played in the regular. But I don't know that. Maybe he would have. I have no idea.
Well, who would you rather play? Would you rather play San Jose, LA, Anaheim, and Arizona, or Ottawa, Calgary, Vancouver? Like which teams are harder?
Well, that's my point. If you look at it based on statistically, that team might have only been really shitty because they were playing against two teams that were really good 10 times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's something you can't really compare. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing as with McDavid. We've seen that he can put up an immense amount of points through a full regular season. Could that have been sustainable for in an 82 game schedule? Who knows? He's a hell of a player. But you can't use that narrative.
So LeBron makes a perfect point. Like how can
and he does, but this is the problem that I'm having with this. The only reason that this whole narrative started is just because of the Montreal Canadiens.
100%.
If this would have been the Leafs and it would have been the top team coming out of the division, we wouldn't be having this conversation at all. They'd be like, look at the historic work that they've done, and Kyle Dubas is a hero, and the coach is the best in the league, and look at Austin Matthews and Marner, and look at all these, and they'd already be having the parade.
Hey, now Austin Matthews today just got voted the NHL's fashion plate. He's the most stylish player. So you leave him alone.
Is that from that Sportsnet?
Well, yeah.
Social media thing.
Of course.
Wonder why he won.
Now,
we all know Henrik Lundqvist is a better dresser. Just saying.
100%.
No, but that narrative was there in the regular season too. In the regular season, a lot of people were saying that the North was the weakest division. Some people would argue that the one with San Jose and LA and all that. But if you look at each division, every division had three teams that were not very good teams, and every division had at least one or two teams that were really good.
Yep.
So was it the worst? I don't know.
They were all set up pretty much exactly the same. There were some weaker sisters and some stronger ones. The stronger ones feasted on the weaker ones to pad their stats. And I'm talking all four divisions did this.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the teams in the middle kind of fought it out. And now the ones that were in the middle are having a bit of a better time. So Islanders, who are a 4 seed, Montreal, who are a 4 seed, they're doing well against Vegas, who is a 2 seed, and Tampa, who I believe they were the 1 seed in their division.
No, Tampa was a
the 2 seed.
Tampa was a 1 seed out of their division.
Yeah. Tampa was a 3.
Yeah.
Because Carolina won that. They were a 3.
They're a dynasty in the making. They're 18 million over the cap somehow.
Because they played Carolina in the first round, beat Carolina out, and then they played Florida and beat them out. So they beat the 2.
Other way around.
Tampa Bay beat out Florida in the playoffs.
Yeah, and then played
Carolina. And then they played Carolina.
Okay.
All right, so the North Division's, not the weak sister. And if you still believe that, well, it's just because you're salty that your team lost. And
I just find it funny that the team that defended the division as not the weakest is now claiming how weak that division really was
because they lost.
Correct.
And this is the same same group that say no, the national carriers aren't irrationally tilted towards Toronto.
Not at all.
Meanwhile,
not at all.
Meanwhile, there's live streams with Steve Dangle on Sportsnet for games of the Montreal Canadiens. Steve Dangle, who, don't get me wrong, he is really good at what he does.
Yeah.
He's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
But he is a 100% Leafs homer. And for whatever reason, instead of finding some, I know, and I know there's no Habs podcasts out there or YouTube channels out there that they could have picked from, like zero. There's none. So they had to go with Steve Dangle.
I find it funny that CBC did before the Toronto Maple Leafs and Montreal Canadiens, I think Game 7, they did a show with Steve Dangle and a guy we know who's a Habs YouTuber named Matt Bedard, Scotian Canadian.
Yeah.
And they did really well. And then CBC, who sports is run by Sportsnet, decided, no, we're not going to go with the Habs YouTuber to do this. We're going to go with Steve. But then again, Steve Dangle has like millions of followers. I mean, it was all.
He's also under contract with them.
He's all under
That's right.
contract with Sportsnet.
And they've
But
been pumping his stuff out for the last few years. So of course he's going to have his numbers inflate. So instead of pandering to all 7 teams and having a kind of setup like that regionally at the very least, they just shove Leafs crap down your throat even 2 series after they've been eliminated.
And that's a good point, Blaine. Like, why can't each team have their own type of Steve Dangle guy?
Yeah. Matt Bedard could easily do this.
Yeah, or Matt Smith.
Yes.
He's so energetic and loud and yelly when
he's just got to stop swearing.
Yeah. But yeah, he could do that, and you could have a guy for Winnipeg, a guy for Edmonton, Calgary.
Jimmy Jellikers.
And that just proves a point. Like, why? I mean, I think Steve Dangle's a closet Habs fan anyway, because he finds a reason to wear a Habs jersey or do something all the time. Like he'll make a bet that he knows he's not going to win. Oh no, I got to wear a Habs jersey anyway.
It's hard not to back a winner.
That's very true. That's very true.
But yeah, I mean, whatever. Maybe they just did it because they had him under contract and they didn't want to go out and. I mean, they did fire a whole shit ton of people. So,
but that's probably what happened. But it just seems to reinforce the argument that every other fan base, the Jets, the Flames, the Canucks, the Canadiens, Senators, all of them are saying the same thing, that that Toronto, with its 27% fan share in the country, is having their fan base shoved down everybody else's throat just because the headquarters for TSN and Sportsnet are out of Toronto. So obviously a ton of Leaf fans work there.
And Rogers owns part of Toronto.
That helps too.
So they're Sportsnet right there. That's why Sportsnet is. I mean, you go on Sportsnet right now on their webpage and guaranteed there's 2 or 3 Toronto stories.
Well, the main story right now is Spets is re-signing.
Yeah. And they only did it now because oh no one's paying attention to us right now.
Yeah. Not the Canadians just tied up the series. No.
Explain. Montreal has its own goddamn station. RDS is Montreal's own station.
A regional carrier. Absolutely.
Shh. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Let's ignore the regional versus national. Meh. Anyway.
I mean, Leafs have Leafs Lunch or Leafs TV.
Yeah.
Which is a regional Toronto.
Yeah. Hell, you can even say Sportsnet Ontario could be theirs. But you have Ottawa there too.
And what? Okay, so Sportsnet East can be Ottawa. Sportsnet Ontario could be.
Except for they run the exact same broadcasting on every channel.
Yeah, Sportsnet West should be Vancouver.
Until you want to watch a hockey game and then it's blacked out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like it's they have it set up. They have it set up to have regional, national like their national thing is set up for regional telecast.
And yet they don't do that.
Yet they don't do that. Yeah.
Well,
anyway, whatever.
So yeah, those leaf blowers can keep blowing their leaves. Meanwhile, the Canada's team just keeps rolling. And speaking of Canada's team has another award coming, it would seem, or at least a nomination, as Marc Bergevin has been nominated for GM of the Year award.
Get out of town.
You know who else got nominated? Uncle
Lou Lamoriello.
Not Kyle Dubas. What?
Was there a team that he used to work for that could have used someone that's GM of the Year quality? Maybe got them out of a first round series. Maybe.
Just think of what their playoff
Did
games would look
Lamoriello
like.
get him out of a first round series?
No, he could have.
No, he
Oh,
could
he
have.
could have, yeah.
But they fired him so they can go with pure analytics.
I still think they should have hired Hunter.
Oh yeah.
I think that's who they should have went with.
Well, that's who everyone thought they were going to hire, and then all of a sudden they went with Kyle Dubas, and
Who is okay, and using analytics is good, but you can't rely solely on the eye test just as much as you can't rely solely on analytics.
no, that's wrong. Look at Mete.
Yeah, he's just lighting it up
Yeah,
on a
Mete's.
bottom feeding team.
Yeah, well,
he's
sure as
top.
hell didn't work for Arizona with Chaika down there. That's for sure.
Yeah, but Chaika did a lot of things that didn't work out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like cheating
Yeah.
at the NHL
At the combine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oops. And there's a lot of other things in Arizona that are going way wrong. All
Okay.
off ice crap. There's all it's a gigantic soap opera that I do not want to get into.
Like the team being in Arizona.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Vegas is in the desert too, and that franchise is extremely well run.
Absolutely.
Well, like I always make people argue that Tampa was handed a team, and I don't think that's true. A lot of their top players were traded to them from other teams, so they
Yeah.
wouldn't pick other players.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can't tell me that William Karlsson. Everyone knew William Karlsson was going to be a 40 goal scorer. When he got
Alex
to the-
Tuck.
Alex Tuck. Fleury. Fleury was traded to them by Pittsburgh, so they wouldn't pick. Who was
Matt
it?
Someone
Murray.
else.
Matt. No, it wasn't Matt
Yeah.
Murray. It was
Matt
someone.
Or
Murray.
someone else.
Yeah.
Shea Theodore.
Yeah.
That's another one. Anaheim gave
Just
him
a
up
gift.
so that they would not pick someone else. And I mean, it's not who they necessarily picked during the actual expansion draft. It was the trades they made prior to, and then they've parlayed that into good signings and good
Yeah.
trades since.
Yeah.
So they're a well-run organization.
Yeah,
There's
I
no
mean, George McPhee did a great job, and now McCrimmon's in there,
Yeah.
doing just a good job. So I mean, you can complain all you want that they're giving a team. I just think the management department just did a good job of putting the team together.
So back to Bergevin.
Well, yeah, let's finish this off with Bergevin. So I'm going to ask one question. We're going to try and keep this very concise
Yeah.
so that we can get into game 2.
Sure.
So I'm going to start with Matt. Do you feel that with the regular season, as these awards are all regular season awards, that Bergevin deserves this nomination?
I do, and this actually goes.
You're stupid.
This award actually goes into the second round of the playoffs. This
No,
one
it's it's voted for after the second round of the
Yeah.
Yeah.
playoffs.
But it's supposed to be about just the regular season.
I'd still, yeah, why not? I'd still give it to him. I think that I think the team went through a hell of a lot of adversity this year, playing with the condensed schedule that they did, and the moves that he made to make this team competitive and to make it, I'm not gonna say self-sufficient, but like a little bit more. What's the word I'm looking for? They didn't rely on one big player. Let's just say that. Like when Price went down, Jake Allen came in and he got them to the playoffs. Right.
He added the depth they needed.
Yeah, he added the depth that they needed. He also, in the offseason, he re-signed Gallagher. He brought in Petrie, and then you bring in Perry late. Nobody saw the Toffoli signing coming. He had a Josh Anderson, et cetera, et cetera. Like I think he, yeah, absolutely. I give him a nomination.
What about you, Treg?
Yeah. I mean, if you look, and my understanding of this nomination is not about how well your team did; it's what you did to improve the team from the previous year. And he was the busiest GM of the year. Toffoli was really the only free agent he signed. Well, Perry and Frolik, but at free agency frenzy was the only guy he signed. He went out and got Joel Edmondson before he went to free agency so he can shore up the defense. He filled every hole but the left-handed puck mover. And you could argue that he wasn't trying to fill that because he had Romanov coming and he has a whole bunch coming through the system, but whatever, that's an excuse. So, yeah, I mean, it's not really based on how well the team did. It's based on whether the moves you made improved the team. And every move he made in the regular season or before the trade deadline anyway, and helped the team, improved the team, made the team better. Many factors were the reason why they struggled. I mean, if you think about right to the end, they were only a couple points out of third. So, yeah, they lost 5 in a row to get into to go to the playoffs, but they were already pretty much in the playoffs anyway. So, and then the trade deadline deals that he got didn't work out in the regular season, but look at what they're doing in the playoffs. Stahl, dare I say, Gustafsson, but I mean, Gustafsson, you can't deny it. Gustafsson's numbers are good. He's the Mete of the playoffs. You look at his analytics, and he's a friggin' top 4 defenseman. You watch him play, and you want to hit your head against the wall.
I cringe. It's
but like he scored a goal.
It's like watching a horror movie.
He scored a goal,
blanket
and
over my eyes.
I believe he leads the team in XGF and all this other crap that.
Oh my lord!
In those 6 minutes a game, yeah.
Hey, numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
Why doesn't Toronto have Mete? If they're an analytic team,
you can do a lot in 6. You can do a lot in 6 minutes. Believe me.
Anyway, I think he deserves it. Whether he wins it or not, I don't know, but I think he deserves it.
Yeah, moving away from Matt's OnlyFans page, Mr. 6 Minute. Personally, I don't think he deserves the nomination for GM of the Year. I'm not taking away all the work he did. He did great work in the offseason. And yeah, all his moves did make an impact from the offseason moves. The team made the playoffs despite losing 7 of their top players who were out for long periods of time, and most of them all at once. So yeah, making the playoffs, his work made the impact and made them make the playoffs. But I don't know. I would just expect to see a better record,
I think it just says a lot about Bergevin as a person, because the award is yes, there's people from the media that vote on it, but NHL executives and GMs, they all have a vote as well. So it just shows, it just shows what his peers think of him, and I think that's a really good thing.
So Blaine, who would you have picked over Bergevin?
Oh, I haven't really put that much deep thought into it, but
I was saying the same thing. I haven't either, but
I'd probably consider someone like Joe Sakic.
Yeah.
But what did Joe Sakic do this year to improve Colorado?
That's
what you got to look at.
Goaltending. He brought in goaltending.
He brought in Devin Taves.
But Grabauer was already there. He's just injured.
Well, he brought in depth and goaltending. So he had the same kind of moves. I didn't really put a ton of thought into it. I just figured it'd be more than a 4th place team. You know what I mean? Like, because it's supposed to be a regular season thing. But
wasn't Florida a 4th place team?
No, they were a hockey
second team. They were amazing.
Well, Florida is a good hockey team.
Amazing. No, but
I think people get caught up in the whole career of a GM when it's nominated for a GM, and not. You kind of got to narrow it down to what did he do this year.
Yeah, and at the same time, a GM's job is not year to year either. They're doing things with they're looking ahead 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And Bill Zito has only had that job for 1 year. I mean, he got handed Barkov and Huberdeau, and I mean, come on.
And really, all he brought in was Verskaer or whatever his name is.
Quenneville was already there, the coach. So he had pretty much everything there. He made a couple of tweaks, and the team performed better. So good for him. But it's just I find it's a little bit odd. But yeah, to your point, Treg, on the voting, the way it's voted on, you're right. It's the other team executives respect the work that he did. So good for him. And we know for a fact that someone who listens to the show religiously would be completely against this nomination. We all know who he is. He likes show business. He's in Montreal.
He was on Tony's show this morning.
He was, yes. And
And-
if you go to TSN 690 radio, I listened to it just before we recorded, and listen to the podcast that they posted up of Tony's discussion with Mr. Kelly. Do so. It is so worth the laughs. It is so
Props
funny.
to Tony. I like Tony. I don't always agree with Tony has to say, but in this one, he was
Oh my God. It was
put Kelly in
hilarious.
his place.
It was
It was
hilarious
good.
because it was a scheduled thing that they were going to have. And the news about Bergevin broke like minutes before he came on. So completely unprepared for what happened. And it just break down into hilarious laughter. It's perfect.
How can you put GM of the year for a guy who traded my favorite player?
It's a good
That is
point.
terrible. Like 6 years ago.
Oh my dear.
I mean, they could always just call him up, ask him how the playoffs are going.
Wait, is it? Anyway, Brendan Kelly's
Anyway,
a joke.
so yeah. So enough on that. We're going to move on to game 2. So the Canadians in game 2, I mean, after game 1, the series was done. It's over.
Oh.
The Canadians are destroyed. Vegas is going to roll over this team in 2 games. Oh my God.
I thought they already left after game 1. I thought Montreal just went home.
Yeah, just packed it up. They took
Yeah.
every player out behind the MGM Grand and just shot them.
Threw them in the Bellagio fountain.
Yeah. So game 2 rolls around. There's this, I'm going to start with the Jeff Petrie stuff. So Jeff Petrie knew all day he was going to play. All day. I mean, he had family fly in to come watch him play. His dad was on.
You could see it in his eyes that he was going to play.
He was. You couldn't keep the devil off the ice.
Yeah.
But no, he had family fly in, got them tickets, got them in the game. His dad was on the radio talking about the Detroit Tigers and mentioned that his son was going to play that night. Like everybody knew, Dom Ducharme knew, but playing a little game with Vegas.
The worst kept secret.
Oh my God, it was terrible. He didn't do line rushes, so he's out. No, he's in. No, he's out. No, he's in. And then he
Especially
played.
since the game sheet went out and he was down in the scratches.
Yeah, and then they put out the game sheet 30 seconds later with his name on it.
Yeah.
And then he played one hell of a game.
Okay, he looked very good.
Like after the midway point of the game, his XGF was 90%.
He had a good game.
Like unreal. Just shows how important he is to that team.
I mean, I thought he had a great game considering you could tell in his eyes that he was out all night in the Vegas Strip. So
Yeah,
that's a bad case
so-
of pink eye if I've ever seen it.
Well, you know.
Anyway, if anyone's wondering, he has blood vessels bust in his eyes. So I don't know what it was from, but that's what it was.
His wife said that it was actually worse last week,
Yeah.
which I can just imagine what he would have looked like. And apparently he's not feeling any pain or anything. It's just,
Well,
know,
There it is.
it doesn't hurt your vision or anything.
No.
No.
I thought it was
First-
pretty. I thought it was pretty cute what his kids said, though. Apparently, his wife told the kids, when they're at school, "Okay, kids, your father's going to look a little bit different." And apparently, they're playing it off as he's the villain and they're superheroes now. So I thought that was pretty cute.
Oh yeah.
His shot wasn't too bad either with the way his fingers were. So,
Yeah.
But you could tell in the game he was protecting his hand. Like every time he got hit, he took his hand off the stick and put it in close to his body. And
Yeah, he shied
And
away
stuff like
from
that.
a little bit of physical play, but
Yeah.
But he
you're
was
gonna-
able
you're
to
gonna do
box
that.
people out. He was able to
Yep.
box everyone out. He
Yeah.
did his job properly. He didn't really shy away from the physical aspect that much. Yeah, he wasn't shooting as hard. Like he wasn't winding up for his big old clappers from the point, but he was getting shots on net, quick wristers, good hard shots. But what concerned me most before the game for him to play was his passing. And that was literally not a concern whatsoever.
No,
So
Nope.
if he can play at that level with that injury for the rest of the series, great. That's the kind of play you need.
a wise man once said at the first of this week, the Montreal Canadiens are going to need Jeff Petrie if they want to win this series.
Yeah, a lot of people said that.
That was Craig Button on Habs Unfiltered last episode. No, Jeff played great. I thought Shea Weber had a strong game.
he did.
Yeah, despite having no hands after getting slashed on the
Oh.
other one.
Yeah,
I don't
and
even want to
then, and then he blocks one with his hand
Yeah.
at the end of the game
Yeah.
to save a goal. So
I don't even want to get into the refereeing of that game. It was just.
Oh no, we'll get into that later. We'll
Okay.
get into it later.
All right.
What
I
about
thought it was
Edmonton?
all the whole defensive core except Gustafson and Merle had good games. Merle looked like he hadn't played in a month, which is true.
True.
And Gustafson was Gustafson.
He looked the
I'm
same.
sorry.
But he played the night before.
Whatever. I'm sorry, but Gustafson, to me, as if I was a coach, he does not give me enough on the offense to justify me putting him in there.
No.
He's too much of a liability defensively, and he can't take the body. He doesn't play the body, and like what you said about the officiating last night, he's in to be on a power play. Montreal didn't get a power play last night, so the only time that he played last night was 5-on-5.
And he's a liability.
And that was scary to watch. Yeah, and that was scary to watch.
Now, the Canadiens made some really good adjustments in this game. The first game, they were outmatched a little bit in the coaching department. Vegas got that first goal, and then they played their form of shutdown, and they used their points properly. I mean, all their offense comes from the back end, and the Canadiens did adjust quite significantly in game 2, and it forced Vegas. Like, they came out just as hard in game 2 as they did in game 1, but they got that goal, and that made a difference. The Canadiens were able to play their game, stick to their plan, and it forced Vegas to chase the game a little bit. When Vegas is chasing the game, they try to stretch the zone. They make these long stretch passes and makes them susceptible to being interceptions, takeaways, giveaways, all of that, because they're trying to stretch the zone. It didn't happen as much as you would expect, because Vegas is a very good hockey team, but it did happen. Their defense was still the major focal point of their offense. I mean, Pietrangelo got both goals. The big shift was the Canadiens did much better in the faceoff circle. They were over 60% in this game.
They did, yet it was still a story of the game. And it was the losses that they had that were clean that led to both goals.
And that's where I'm getting at with the adjustments. They adjusted somewhat to attacking the point on the faceoffs, because these are set plays that Vegas is pulling.
Yep.
So they did adjust a little bit, but Vegas was still a lot faster on those draws that they won, and the Canadiens did not get their wingers up onto the defensemen. Now, defensively, the Canadiens played extremely well. They're boxing out. The shots are coming from the outside. Price is seeing a lot of this stuff, but Vegas is the majority of Vegas's goals are coming off these set face-off plays, and this is where the Canadiens really have to buckle down.
Yeah,
I know. I wasn't happy with the Canadiens game last night, to be honest with you. I thought they played the exact same game they played the night before. They played a great first period and then didn't do nothing the next 2 periods. And if my opinion, they played better defensively. They kept Vegas off the score sheet. But I'll tell you, I wasn't impressed with the second and third period at all. I was not. And it was the same way with the first game. They played great the first period. I think the goal kind of deflated them a little bit. And then the next 2 periods, they didn't really have it in it. I didn't find they did this period. They ended up winning because they buried their chances in the first period that they needed. So, I mean, I'm glad they won, but I think they have to play more of a full 60 minutes going forward than what they're doing right now.
Well, the Canadiens in the first period dominated. They had an 8-1 high danger chance for differential. And by the end of the game, they still had almost triple the high danger chances than Vegas. And they outchanced them with the scoring chances. They didn't outshoot Vegas. Vegas outshot them, but Vegas's shots were, for the vast majority, coming from the outside. The Canadiens had the higher quality shots, and that was the difference. And even though they didn't shoot much in the second period, out of those 4 shots, 2 of them were high danger chances. And in the third period, they created 5 more high danger chances in their 7 shots. So they didn't get a lot of shots, but they had quality. Now, that's another adjustment that they have to work on, is playing a full 60 the way they did the first period, because they let Vegas come back in the game. And you cannot let teams like Vegas claw their way back into games. This isn't Toronto. Like they're more battle tested. They won't crumble if you do one thing to shut them down.
I see what you're saying, and I agree. I don't know. It's just I just wasn't happy with the game. I just wasn't. I don't know.
Well, once they went up 3-0, you knew that they were going to play.
I did, but
stupid shutdown.
I guess I was hoping they would wait to the third to do that, and they didn't. And in all honesty, I mean, Peter Angelo's first goal was a seeing eye friggin' missile that went through everything somehow, literally, miraculously.
Went off Price's glove even and went in.
Yeah, and the second one again, Price got a piece of it. It just went in. Now, so really, the goals weren't like they were no one's fault. I guess my point is it frustrates me when they come out with that first period and you're like, man, what a first period. They play like this, whether they're down by a goal or up by 2 goals. They should win this hockey game. And then the next 2 periods, they don't even look like the same team.
They sat back and just dumped the puck out, the puck out.
And
go ahead.
I was just going to say, and one of those dump outs led to an icing, which led to Suzuki being on the ice for a defensive zone faceoff, which, mind you, he wasn't that bad on last night, but he was tired. And then they put their best center on and he just lost it and it led to a goal. So
yeah, exactly.
The positive I take out of this game is the top line, we'll call it, in with the Deneau line. They went out there, they did what they needed to do, and then the rest of the lines provided the scoring. They got a goal on each of those lines. I think it was Josh Anderson's probably one of his strongest game in a while. And even though he didn't, he didn't show up on the score sheet, I think that he played a complete game. He skated hard. He went to the net quite often. He was physical. He led to the third goal. His little box out play at the blue line, and his hard skating negated a few icings. I think it was one of the better games that he had. And we're seeing the kind of the emergence of Caulfield, and he's getting more confident with the puck. And even though he's only got the 1 goal so far in the playoffs, he's put up 5 assists now, including the series winning goal against Winnipeg. So imagine this kid playing a full season, and we're going to see that next year. Something to look forward to.
Well, that little pass over to Foley, like he froze the defender. He even tricked.
He froze Fleury. Fleury, yeah.
So, like this kid's he's no slouch on defense either.
No, he's in there. He's not going to play the body at all, but he's got an active stick.
But he does. He goes into the corners. He goes in and he goes after the board battle. He doesn't win them all, but I mean, dare I say this guy's name again? But he does a better job than Victor Mete on board battles and on puck battles.
That's true.
Because he keeps himself on the defensive side of the puck.
Correct. And Victor Mete is a defenseman and a little bit bigger than he is.
Yeah. But couldn't do what Caulfield's doing now.
And that's my point, going back to what we were talking about earlier about Victor Mete and analytics and the eye test. But Caulfield, remember when everyone said he's just a one-dimensional player and he's only going to score goals? Well, guess what? He's not just a one. And not only to pass it to Foley, but the pass he had the other night to in the last game against Winnipeg there for Suzuki's goal.
To Foley's goal
For the overtime. That was just a beautiful, beautiful pass. And you got to know how to do that in order to do stuff like that.
And he did that after winning a board battle.
Yeah, exactly. And so Caulfield, he's also one of those guys you think he's going to take this big hit at center ice and that's going to be the end of him. And then all of a sudden he never gets hit. He gets
water
touched.
bugs his way out of the way.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's just a treat to watch. I can't wait to watch him in an 82-game season and win the Rookie of the Year next year. It's going to be amazing.
Well, he's already shown that he's a first-line winger. He's got what, 18 NHL games under his belt now? 20
Something
total?
like that, yeah.
Like
Something
20
that.
games into his career,
Yeah.
and he's already a first line player.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, technically that line gets the first line minutes, but
But he's actually playing like a first line
like
player.
a first line, yeah. And Suzuki,
Yeah.
he's made Suzuki better. Suzuki, I find, is a better player out there too with Caulfield on his wing.
Which is impressive because Suzuki was doing very well before.
Exactly. And Toffoli just complements that whole line. So,
That's right.
I mean, you have Toffoli now on an 8-game point streak, which is the second longest point streak in Montreal Canadiens history. Guy Lafleur and Larry Robinson with 9 lead the way. And
It's not a bad list to be on, eh?
No. And Caulfield just tied Shane Corson for the highest. Shane Corson?
Yeah.
For the youngest.
Yeah.
For the
For
youngest
the only
player.
other under 20.
For under
20
a
and under.
player 20 or under to have a 4-game point streak in the playoffs. So, yeah. So we got the future's looking bright no matter what happens here. Now let's hope that the maybe GM of the year puts the right pieces together and helps this team make the next step.
But in this game, in game 2, I mean, we're touting Caulfield. That line did very well, but it's the washing machine line, the fourth line, the cycle. Those guys set the tone.
Man, those guys, Armia, totally different player in the playoffs than what he is in the regular season.
Yeah, and he's working
Like-
his way to a contract that the Canadians will not be able to afford.
And Stahl's having an incredible. Stahl, Perry, and Armia are just setting the tone for the entire game. Perry's doing his thing by getting under everyone's skin. Stahl is just winning board battles, winning face-offs, doing everything he can, and they just cycle that puck, cycle that puck, cycle that puck. And Armia, who we already knew could stick handle in a box, and they're just pressing. Like they spend more time in the offensive zone than I think any other line, to be honest with you. And
There's people talking about bringing back that whole line next year.
Well, I don't think it's going to be possible, but it would be nice.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can see Perry coming back
I can too.
at
I can too.
$750K. I don't see Stahl coming back.
no, I don't see Stahl coming back. It'll be hard to keep Armia because of how he's doing in the playoffs. That contract, it's going to be expensive. Perry should be able to be kept.
It depends on. Well, look at Deneau. Did Deneau just earn his $6 million contract that he's looking for?
Oh my God, I hope not.
Neither do I. But if you look at his performance in the playoffs,
Yep. He shut down Matthews and Marner. He shut down Scheifele for a game, and then he shut down Connor and Ehlers and Wheeler
and Dubois, Stastny,
and so far in this one, Stone and Pacioretty. And I mean, we can't go through this series and not toot the horn for Carey Price. He has done so much to get into the heads of the Vegas players. Like you look at the reactions. Reeves thought that Martinez's shot was in. He was celebrating. Martinez was celebrating. The entire arena was celebrating. And then Price just stood up and said, "No, face-off's over there."
Yeah. And we've seen it with Mark Stone a few times too, with him looking up at the rafters and stuff as well,
Yeah.
right?
Well, that's just because he robbed him. And I mean, some of the saves he made last night, the pant save there, that off his pant leg, like the
Off
tip of
Martinez's
his pant
shot.
leg.
Yeah.
And then he had another one on Stone, one on Pacioretty with the toe there over on the other side. He's just.
And Pacioretty hit the post. He had him clean. He beat Price clean, but he hit the post because Price came out and played that angle.
Yeah.
And the shooters in Vegas are thinking, I need a perfect shot. I have to rip a perfect shot to beat him.
It was the same thing in the Winnipeg series.
Yeah.
The only thing in the Winnipeg series and what it made Montreal look so dominating is Montreal did a better job of clearing the slot for Carey Price, because almost every goal so far that went in on Price, except maybe 2, were screenshots.
Yeah.
And,
And they're
in
coming
the
off
Vegas
of
series.
they're coming off of set plays off the face-off.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's an aspect of the game that Ducharme needs to clean up. I think one goal for Vegas so far in this series comes off of a non-face-off play. All the others do.
In the first game, it was 2 screens and 2 cross ice passes.
And that cross-ice pass that went off like 5 legs,
Yeah,
landed right on the guy's stick.
The Theodore one, or the Peter Angelo one. Was it Theodore or Peter Angelo who made the fake?
Theodore fake shot?
Yeah, that that wasn't really cross ice, but that was one. The one to Holden, which was cross ice that bounced off every skate that it went through.
Yeah, and the Holden one is the only one that didn't come off of a face-off play.
Right, and then the other two were screens off a face-off. They won the face-off, screen the front of the net, and he had no idea. He was still looking for the puck when they were cleaning it. The ref was taking it out of the net. And then even last night, the two goals. Peter Angelo's first goal was a screenshot, and his second goal was off the draw. Yeah, second goal was off the draw.
Yeah. It was a set play off the face-off, creating an opening on that far side.
Yeah. So, yeah, if Montreal just needs to do it, they did their adjustments for the other part of the game. They took the cross ice passes away. They played up higher on the defensemen to take their shots away and take their time away. Now they have to work on that face-off. Like, it's almost like you got to take the guy away from the front of the net and just put him up on one of the defensemen. Like, how they usually line.
What you want to try and do, and it's not rocket science. I mean, even I can figure this one out. It's a set play that I taught my kids. Like, I've been teaching this to 11-year-olds. The winger who's up against the boards on the face-off in the defensive zone, his job is to go straight to the center dot. So the face-off happens. That winger goes to the dot to help the center if there's a contested face-off. The one that's in the slot, that winger kind of jams the winger that he's up against to slow him down. The defender behind him picks that player up, and that winger then goes straight to the defender in the high slot. That's it. You make a mad rush to that defenseman because that's the scoring threat. Yeah. That winger and that defenseman are the real scoring threats. Everybody else is over to the side. So you need your defenseman who's on that on the slot side and the winger on the slot side to deal with those two players. Those are the scoring threats. You take that out, and there goes 90% of Vegas's offense because it's all on set plays off faceoffs so far.
I mean, Dom's been doing well in this series. He'll probably figure that out. I think he'll figure it out. And Montreal have the last line change come Montreal. So
well, he was talking about the faceoffs and the set plays after the game, which is still an issue, and I'm sure they've got something planned.
Oh, I would imagine, yeah. So,
did you have? What about you, Matt? You got anything on the game? Anything else? Any insights?
I got nothing on the game. However, want to say that Eric Bélanger was named the head coach of the Trois Rivières Lyon, and their store is now open, so you can buy merchandise. And I think I really like the look of their logo. I think they did a really good job at that.
Oh, it's a really well built logo.
Yeah. So you guys, you haven't seen it, definitely head over to their website, check out their merchandise, and it's really good. And the last thing I need to pass on, because I know Treg's going to take off here very soon. I got a contest going up like I did on the last one. This time, you can head on over to my Twitter account at snakebite350, and you could win one of two Funko Pops that are NHL oriented. I will be drawing the winners. The start of the second period of the Montreal the Montreal Vegas game of Game 4.
So Sunday night.
Yeah.
Treg?
I'm just gonna put this out. I'm gonna be watching the game live with the Slapshot Sweethearts in the second period of Friday night's game. So look out for them if you want to watch my reactions live to the hockey game. I hope they have a bleep button. That's all.
Matt's not on the show.
So really, that's all I have. I'm just going to be live with them. They're doing a live podcast during the game, and I'm going to show up in the second period.
All right. I'd like to remind everybody listening that we do have promo codes that you can use if you want to buy any of the products from Built Bar. Delicious protein bars, low in sugar, high in protein, excellent tasting candy bars. They don't have that gritty feel. Use the promo code Unfiltered20 to get 10% off your purchase, and they deliver to your door. You can use the same promo code Unfiltered20 if you go to East Coast Lifestyle, And that will get you 20% off of any purchase from East Coast Lifestyle, clothing, hats, merchandise, anything that they sell on their online store, 20% off using Unfiltered 20.
Even their beer?
No. They don't sell that
Okay.
on the online store.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, that makes sense, though.
Yeah. And it's rum soda.
Ah, that's right. Yeah.
You can also use the code unfiltered20 at seatgiant.ca. So if you're planning on going to the Montreal Canadiens games this weekend, use unfiltered20 at seatgiant.ca to save 35% off your fees, which when a ticket is costing as much as it does right now on those resale sites, 35% off is a significant savings. So feel free to use those promo codes that we provide to you solely for your benefit, not ours. And don't also remember that for every Montreal Canadiens win, we are donating $25 to the Montreal Canadiens Children's Foundation. Check out Habs Unfiltered on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and you'll see the link for the foundation. So if you want to make any donation, or if you just want to share the link so that people you follow you can see it and possibly want to donate as well, that would be appreciated. So anything we can do to help the kids, and hopefully by the end of the playoff run, we'll have been we'll donated at least $400 to this, because $25 per win, how many wins is that to get to 400? 16 wins to 400. So let's get $400 into the hands of those kids, shall we? So any final thoughts, boys? No?
Oh, thanks to all our new followers.
Yeah. We don't care how salty you are or how you want to troll us. We're just happy you're listening. So, so thanks for listening. And remember, if you are talking about it, so are we.